TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey, gang. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to Inside the Batter's Box. My name is Scott Webb. Thank you for coming today. I much appreciate it. Hey, Jay Berry, happy Friday, my friend. Thank you for the comments. It's my favorite day, one of them. I like Friday. I like Monday. And it never changes, it seems like. It's one of these deals where, all these sports books come out and they get their numbers and they do the stuff. And today's the day where, new matchups, new series start. And then all of a sudden, they don't know what they're doing. And then it gets better on Saturday. And then it gets better on Sunday. So we have to work harder and we have to work harder. So whatever, it's just work is work, right? So as we're going through this and as we keep going these things, hey, Mr. Jenkins, how are you, my friend? It says, thank you for the show. I appreciate that, my friend. And thank you for all the communications and tweets, both of you, Jay and Mr. Jenkins. It's great. I appreciate that. And as we keep going, one of the things I was thinking about, and I saw this somewhere, and I don't know where it was. It was somebody posted a tweet, and it was on a play the other day, and it was a first five, and I thought to myself, you know what? We need to really go over first fives because I don't know that really people understand what they are and why they are what they are. So we're going to spend a little time doing first five bets today. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about was, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here of playoff runs. We're at the kind of the trade deadline right now. So we got trades happening as we speak. Zach Eflin just got traded from if you haven't heard, he got traded from the Rays to the Orioles today. I don't know, maybe 20 minutes ago. So as things happen and as things kind of come down the pipe, it's going to change the dynamics of things. And it's also going to change the dynamics of how we bet. Because you're going to have a large number of teams that are in it, and then you're going to have a large number of teams that aren't, and the lines are going to show that. So our value to where those numbers are going to have to change. We're going to have to make an adjustment. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. So I wanted to make sure I've got a couple of things lined up here in terms of data numbers wise. And so let's it's 20 after 6. So let's just get after it right away because one of these games is at 6:40, the other one's at 7. So let's knock those two out real quick, and then we can get into some other stuff a little bit and then get into some of the other games. But the first game that I really wanted to talk about is Minnesota and Detroit today. Minnesota travels to Detroit. This is Pablo Lopez, and he's facing Montero today. And the number on this game, if I go back to it, if I can get to it, there we go, is now minus 180 at Circa, and it's minus 185 at Bookmakers. So it's a high number. My number on this game is minus 211. So, there's still value in my mind at the 180. Now, I'm not advocating go pay minus 180. That's not what I'm saying. And as we get later on, I'm not going to tell you that the 180 is a good number either. But as we're doing this, the reality becomes is that's the first sign of saying, hey, the price is wrong. So then we got to go look at it and go, why is the price wrong? And there's three pitchers on today's board: Pablo Lopez, Kirby from Seattle, and where's the other one? And it's actually Ortiz in Pittsburgh. Those three guys, metrics related. Now, I'm just talking metrics. So we're talking XFIP, Sierra, and FIP. That's the metrics. They're the three top dogs on the board. All three of them in the top 25% of all of baseball. So they're pitching very well. They're if you were going to grade them or rate them, they would be in the top 30 of all baseball right now. So those three guys. And what I liked about Lopez in this game is in a lot of ways he's like the best, and he's the best because he's got a 10.57 strikeout rate. So balls aren't going to be put in play by Detroit. Detroit, if you don't know, one of their best players, Green, who plays outfield for them, he's been put on the disabled list today, 10-day DL, so he's not going to be in the lineup. So that makes them a weaker team. And they also get back Royce Lewis today, so I like that. So I like a lot about what's going on with the Minnesota vibe here. And I think you got a good pitching matchup. The pitching matchup shows Lopez should do well. He doesn't walk guys, strikes guys out, gives up average number of home runs. His xWOB over the last 30 days is a 235, which is below league average batting wise. So they're going to have to work to get on base. And then you have Montero, whose xWOBA, for example, is 351 over the last 30 days, and he's already pitched against Minnesota before. And his xWOBA against that lineup is 372. So there's a big edge to the offense for Minnesota. His metrics are all average, but he's not a big strikeout guy, so balls are going to get put in play, and he makes mistakes and gets hard hit. So that really kind of add up to say, okay, well, Minnesota should do well, and how do we bet it? How do we figure this out? So if I look at one other thing as we're doing this, SOPS plus, right? How does the opponent control the opponent's offense? SOPS plus for Montero, 122, 22% worse than an average pitcher. For the season, he's a 138. He's made 5 starts. He's 3-2 in those 5 starts. He has been decent at night, but he's a 136 at home, 36% worse at home. So not very good. So these numbers don't kind of add up. And then where the dividing line comes in to try to figure out how to bet it is where you look at Lopez, and Lopez in his last 28 days is a 67 SOPS plus. So that's a 33% better than average pitcher at controlling the opponent's offense. So now you got a gap. You got a gap in the sense that Minnesota should do well on offense. Detroit has one of their better players, Riley Green, not going to play. They got to face a pitcher that's going to make him work to try to get on, and he's done very well. So then you look at it and go, oh, well, right-handed pitchers, Minnesota's offense is 11% above average, and Detroit's 6% below average. And as we currently speak in the last 7 days, Minnesota's offense is 12th, Detroit's is 22nd. There's a bigger gap. So I like the idea that we can get to a point where we can cover the 1.5. So the first play that I have is Minnesota minus 1.5, minus 110. I don't think that that's a big stretch. I don't think that that's asking a lot. And I think that we have the opportunity to do so. And, Detroit's bullpen's not like the most amazing thing in the world. So say we're ahead 3-2 and we still got to score 1 and we got the bullpen. Well, we can do that. So I like the idea here that Detroit, they're at home, but I don't think that matters. I think Minnesota is the better team. I think Minnesota is going to be fired up to play this game. And I think that Lopez is going to pitch well. So as I look at it, I see that that number is probably pretty good. My score in the game is not going to where is it at? It's right there. It's over there. So my score was Detroit getting 3.8 runs, and Minnesota 4.5. So that doesn't cover 1.5. But I think that handicapping it out, it stretches that and gets to that 1.5, 2 run that we need. So I like it. Plus, we're going to get to bat in the 9th, and we don't always get to do that on run line games. So play number 1 today will be the Minnesota Twins minus the 1.5 with Pablo Lopez taking on Montero. So that I think that's a good one. So as we go forward, the next one I think is kind of not necessarily a similar spot because it really isn't. It's a matter of an interesting spot because you have two offenses that are pretty good. This is Baltimore and San Diego. San Diego's offense is really good right now. They're averaging 4.7 runs a game, but Baltimore is averaging 5.3 in terms of runs. San Diego ranks ninth in offense, so I usually don't like to bet against top 10 offenses. But then you also have Baltimore, right? Baltimore is fifth in offense, and I get it. They got beat by the Marlins one day, but now they get to come home. They're making deals, they're making trades, and if you've been in a club, well, I don't know how many guys have been in the clubhouse when that kind of stuff has happened, but there's some juice. The team gets excited. Hey, we're making some deals. We're getting some stuff happening, right? So the Orioles got Zach Eflin today, and they also picked up somebody else. Can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but they picked up another player. So they've got guys coming to try to help them, and they're looking at it going, holy cow, here we go, right? This is our playoff run, and so I think you're going to see some excitement from Baltimore today. Baltimore or San Diego, they just won a game yesterday off of a no-hitter. And of course, the pitcher's not pitching today, but they're off the no-hitter. But they're pitching a guy, and his name is Adam Mazur. Adam Mazur is WAR number is like a 0, so he's a replacement level player, and they're facing Grayson Rodriguez, who's not a replacement level player. He's like a 3 WAR. So we've got a guy that's way better on the mound than what we have for San Diego. So big edge. There's a big edge of the Baltimore Orioles offense is a little better than what San Diego's is right now, and you got a huge edge on the mound. I mean, it's not even close. So if we looked at SOPS plus, you have Mazur. He is the attack guy. There's him and one other guy, but he's a 190 SOPS plus over the last 28 days. 90% worse than an average pitcher. That's not very good. So I like the idea then that Baltimore should have the opportunity to hit. And on the other side, Rodriguez is an 81. So he's 19% better than an average pitcher. So I think he's going to be able to control the offenses better. That doesn't mean he's going to control it to 100%, but he's going to control it better. Plus, he's a strikeout pitcher in a sense that Rodriguez is 10.38 strikeout. So balls in play edge, by far Baltimore. Because you got a guy who's 25% in the worst 25% of strikeouts. So that means balls are going to be put in play by Baltimore. And his metrics, xFIP 5.28, Sierra 4.81, FIP 5.63. That's not very good. That's in the worst 25% of all of baseball. And I think he's going to get hit. So we put him out there. His home run rate, 1.98, and we talk about this a lot. But if you're a 2, that's not very good. You don't want to give up 2 home runs per game. I mean, that's not good. You're not going to win many games that way. His xWOBA for the over 30 days is a 418. Remember, league batting average is 242. That's the batting average. Your xWOBA is a little higher than that, or your WOBA numbers, because that's a weighted on base percentage. So it's going to be a little higher than that. And he's 418. So that's terrible. Batting average against is 339, and he's allowing 1.68 guys to get on base per inning, and he's a mistake thrower. I mean, that's all he does. He's up there minus 0.78. He's the worst one on the board today. Worst one. So the way I looked at this, though, is how much trouble the Baltimore Orioles have had in bullpens? It's been bad. So I don't want to play that. I don't want to get ahead and then have them have to hold a lead. They hardly could hold a 6-0 lead against the Miami Marlins. So can they hold a 6-0 lead against San Diego? I'm not so sure they can. So let's play it in the first 5 innings today. First 5 innings, minus a half a run. And that number was, where is it? Dun, 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 dun. minus 135. I think it's probably minus 140 now. Last time I looked, but that's okay. You can play that. That's better than playing 200, and it's not even that as much as it's when you looked at my number on that particular game. I have that game San Diego scoring 1.7 runs in 5 innings, and Baltimore scoring 3. So there you go. They covered the number. I think we're good. I think we got some excitement in Baltimore right now. I think they're going for it. And San Diego hasn't made any moves yet. So they're sort of sitting around waiting for stuff to happen. And they got Adam Mazur on the mound, kind of filling the spot today. And they'll probably try to win tomorrow's game. And today's kind of one of those flat spots for them. Had a celebration of the victory from the no-hitter. And here you go. I think it's a good spot. So first 5 innings, San Diego Padres or Baltimore Orioles. All right. So the next game, the next 2 games are later. So I want to talk about the first 5 innings for just a minute, because when you make a first 5 innings bet, the first thing you want to try to do is understand that there's a reason for the bet. Why would we want to make a first 5 inning bet as opposed to a full game bet? Well, in this particular case, just a second ago, it's because Baltimore's bullpen, is in a struggle mode. We don't necessarily trust them. So if you got to cover runs and then they give up the runs at the end of the game and you lose, well, there's not much you can do about it, right? And they might still win the game, but you lose your bet. So the other side of it is, so that's one reason, right? That's one reason why you might want to do that. So whenever I play a run line game, what I'm looking for is a gap. I'm looking for that. I've got an offensive edge on one side and I've got a pitching edge on the same side, because then that gap widens. And then because the gap widens, I've got a run line edge. I can probably cover runs. And then I want to go look at like what the total is and see where we are on some of that kind of stuff. Right. So in this particular case, in that game specifically, well, let's just use a different one. Let's talk about Kansas City and where I think we can go with Kansas City, and use it as an example of something that's interesting. That's a good play. So Kansas City today, they're only minus 145, and my number on that game in the 145 game is Kansas City is minus 151. So not much value, but still value. You can still bet them. So then I'm looking at the game, and a couple of things came out in my research to looking at this game. I got to come over here and grab my notes. So the first thing that I came out with was, the Royals offensively. I don't know if people really realize what they do. They're a juggernaut at home. In fact, they've scored 288 runs at home. No other team has scored that many home runs. So they're first in Major League Baseball in runs scored at home, the Kansas City Royals. They are first in batting average at home. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest batting average guy in the world, but it just means that they make contact, they get on base, right? So on base percentage is .334. They're fourth in on base percentage, first in batting average, first in runs, weighted runs created plus. That's a fancy metric, that comes up with a lot of different things. But the reality of it is it's a weighted grade an offense on a 100 scale. So you're able to go and say, hey, this offense is X. I do that. You'll hear me say that a lot of times. They're 1 plus 110 weighted runs created plus at home. So they're 10% better than an average offense at home. Now that's 11th. That's not top notch. But what it means though is that in all of these different metrics, you're first in runs, first in average, fifth in weighted on base percentage. Now, weighted on base percentage is a big deal. Weighted on base percentage is way better than batting average because every single thing that happens gets credited for. So if you hit a double, it counts as a double. It doesn't count as a base hit. It doesn't count as a single. Same as a triple. You get credit for what you're doing. And it's not a total basis thing, but at the same time, it kind of goes into that sort of same idea because isolated power is total bases, and they rank 8th at home with that, which is amazing because you don't think about them as a home run hitting team and you don't think of them as a big power team. 8th out of 30 teams is top notch. That's pretty good. So the Royals at home score runs, and they score a lot. And they're going to face a team today and a pitcher today. If I can flip this back over to my other numbers, Kansas City's game in Hendricks. Hendricks in metrics, bottom 25% of all of baseball. He's 4.74 walk rate or strikeout rate, which is the lowest one on the board today. So that means balls are going to be put in play by the Royals. So the Royals have all kinds of opportunity to score runs. In his last 30 days, his xWOBA numbers are 376. So it's really high. So you've got an opportunity here, and you've got an offense specifically in this spot at home where they take advantage of it. Now, I will say that in looking at the other side of it, the Royals pitchers haven't been really good at home except for one, and his name is Brady Singer. Well, Brady Singer's pitching for them tonight. So I like the idea that this minus 145 doesn't have to be played at 145 just because it's 145 and it's within, say, not over 150 or 160 or whatever your number is. It's a better play to play the run line. And if you were to play this game on the run line, the run line's actually plus 125. Now, that's a great play. It's way better than minus 145. And the other part of it is that you go and look at it and go, well, where's the offense for Chicago? And they're 29th out of 30 teams. Isolated power, they are 30th out of 30 teams, minus 46% compared to an average offense. Look, man, I'm all in on Kansas City and in Kansas City on the run line. So when you're looking at these things and you start breaking them down, I had a question in this game. Should I do first 5 innings or should I do the run line? So I think a lot of people would go and say, well, let's do them in the first 5 innings because I don't want to have to cover 1.5 and they're the home team. Well, if you do that, the reason that you would do that is just because you're changing the odds. You're not doing it because that's the right play. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit with first 5 inning bets because that's not correlated. So say it a way that makes sense to everybody is this. Can the Royals cover a 1.5 number? Well, I just explained that they've got an offensive edge. They're going against the 30th team in baseball on offense, 29th and 30th. They are a top-notch offense, specifically at home, and they're 8th in offense. So the pitcher they're facing allows base hits, so balls are going to be put in play. He's not a strikeout guy. So everything would lead you to go and say, yeah. And so in a lot of people's mind, they wouldn't play the run line unless it was like minus 200. And then they're trying to change it back. Well, we don't want to do that. We can get plus money on this side. But you also don't want to do first 5, which is kind of what this conversation's about. The reason you don't want to do first 5 is because where are our edges? Our edges are on offense. And if you only allow your offense 5 at-bats, maybe it takes 6. How many times have you lost a first 5 bet because your offense got it going in the 6th inning and not the 5th inning? Your edges offense, don't limit your bet to make it fit a changing the narrative of the money line. Make it fit the bet, the scenario to what you're doing. So in this case, first 5 innings doesn't work because I want the Kansas City Royals to bat as many times as they can. I want them to score as many runs as they can possibly score. So I need them to bat 9 times. If they get an opportunity to bat 9 times, I want them to bat 9 times. If they bat 8 times and they still win by 2, great, not a problem. The other thing we didn't talk about in this case is the Chicago bullpen's been pretty good. As a matter of fact, I think they're ranked number 2. So us getting the opportunity to score runs later might not be as good, but we might still need to score them. So I like the idea that what we're trying to do is not limit the innings. We want to score runs, and our advantage is offense. So don't play first 5 just to flip the number. Take the plus money and go with it, right? I don't know if I was doing the shows then, but we gave out a play on the, I can just remember it off the top of my head. We gave out the Mets, and the Mets were playing. I don't remember who they were playing, but Severino was pitching, and it was a day he was supposed to pitch good. He did pitch good, shut the team down, and I played him on the run line instead of like minus 140 or 145, got plus 125. They covered the 2 runs. Bing, bang, boom, no problem. Same issue right here with the Royals today, right? That's a perfect example of that scenario, right? So when you want to play a first 5 is when you have the worst offense, but you got a pretty good pitching matchup, and you think that because the pitcher that makes mistakes and you can get them in the first 5 innings, but you don't want to go attack them. Over a 9-inning game because now you're giving them 4 more at-bats and you've got a worse offense. That's when you want to flip the script to first 5 innings. You want it to work or like the Orioles, maybe you feel like the bullpen is not strong enough to hold a lead. And then you can go and say, I'm just going to take the bullpen out of it. Take them out of it. And we're going to go run with the first 5 innings and let it kind of play it by there and see what happens, right? So I think if you can find a way to manage what the back end of a game looks like, because you spend all this time on all the data that you get on starting pitchers, you can do bullpens, but you have to separate it. And if you can kind of get an understanding of what they look like and understand this, right? So Oakland last night played the Angels. And Oakland went out and scored 2 runs. And then the next inning, I think the Angels went and scored 5 runs. And then the next inning, the A's went and scored 2. Then they scored 2. Then they scored 2 more. It was 6-5. The bullpens then came in. Guess what the final score was? 6-5. Even if you're a team like the Angels and the A's, the bullpens are pretty good. And that doesn't mean they don't get blown up, but they're pretty good. Expect bullpens to do a pretty good job unless they're in some of those ruts. It's just like anything else. If I switch this to bullpen and I go over here. So, for example, the San Francisco Giants. They've pitched 31 innings and given up 42 hits in the last 14 days. That's not very good. You want to avoid a bullpen like that because that bullpen's not going to hold a lead. They're going to blow a lead. And then you have to think about your bet because it's a full game bet, or you change it to a first 5 because you might have that scenario. The other side of those first 5 bets is trying to think of it and go, well, my bullpen's pretty good. But is it going to hold against a good offense? You don't have to play it that way. If your starting pitcher is good enough, then that's all that matters because you're going to have more data on your starting pitcher than you are on your bullpen. So flip it to the first 5 innings. So the first 5 innings is important to understand the rules around it. The rules are you make a bet to the first 5 innings and you play on a team that you are afraid of their bullpen in the backside. So that was what I gave out earlier today about the Baltimore Orioles. You pass on first 5 inning bets if your offense is better than the opponent's offense, because you need your offense to bat as many times as you can possibly bat, right? And the totals are more correlated to run lines than money lines are. Money lines just tells you who's going to win the game and what the winning probability of that is. That's what you're betting. Whether you're gonna whether you think the probability is higher or lower than what the market is. That's what the bet is. That's what the money line. That's what that number represents. When you're starting to have it to cover runs, you need to look at the total. And if the total starts to match into some of the things that we're talking about, and where's the Royals at, for example? Oh, by the way, the Twins, 2 runs in the first inning so far that I can see. Well, so that's pretty good. Where is that? Oh, there it is. So they're expecting 9 runs. That's the total in that game, 9 runs. So that means there's going to be offense. So I'm thinking we're going to have offense, right? So if we're going to have offense, we need to cover runs. I'm going to do it as a 1.5, not as a first 5. Does that make sense to everybody? So I think you have to understand what the purpose of a first 5 bet is. And the purpose of a first 5 bet is not to change the outcome of the money line wager. The money line wager is representative of what the winning probability of that team in that game is for 9 innings. For 5 innings, there's a money line number for that. So when you look at -1.5, +1.5, -0.5, +0.5, relate that to the total. Don't relate that to the money line. They're 2 separate things. I hope that makes sense to everybody, and I hope that provides a little bit of clarity as to first 5 wagers and kind of those topics around first 5 wagers. The other thing I wanted to mention was, before I get into the last 2 games, is, and you can count the Kansas City as a bet too. Go ahead, put that on the record. Is we're getting ready to see money lines change, and what I mean by change is all of these lines on the board. You're going to have a handful of games that are going to be -130 or less. That's it. They're all going to be -140 or more. They're going to be 150. They're going to be -160. They're going to be -170. And that's because you're going to have all these teams that are calling up guys that are just kind of figuring out what they are and who they are. And then they got other teams trying to make the playoffs, right? So the sports books are going to start setting numbers much higher for those teams you want to bet on. So it's going to be, you're going to have to really work hard to figure out how to bet those games and or figure out what numbers to use to find value to what's real and what's not. So I say that in a sense because it's okay to bet -150. It's okay to bet -160. Your return on your bet isn't as good, but you can't lose. That's the difference. Don't lose those bets. So when you make that bet, be very assured as to what it is you're betting and what value you place on why you bet -150 or 155 or 140 or 145, whatever your number is. Because the numbers you're going to have to adjust them up, or you're not going to play. You're just going to go, okay, I need to fold up baseball and I need to start looking at football. I think you do both. I think you bet football. I think you bet baseball, and I think you hammer these teams. Look, man, this is the time of the year where players, teams, they go for it, and they make the playoffs. They go on runs, and you follow those teams, and you bet on those teams, and the value that you can get just because it says minus 160 or minus 150 doesn't mean you can't bet them. Don't just automatically scratch it off your sheet. Figure out what the real value is and then bet based off of the real value, right? Because that's all it is. Minus 160 is a, where's my sheet at? There it is. So minus 160 is a probability of 6150 to win. And if you have a probability of 70%, you're still getting value. So you bet that, right? So that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is if your probability and the sports book gives you a probability of whatever it is and it's lower than yours, man, you got a sale price, buy it. Even if it's minus 150, because your likelihood of those things changing and moving, coming down, aren't there. They're only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I'm not advocating to go out and spend minus 200. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. Even if you think it's minus 250 and you want to go minus 200, baseball bets at that level aren't very good because they play 162 games and sometimes stuff happens, right? I lost last night. Personally, I was on the Braves and Braves doing fine, whatever. They only give up 3 hits the entire game. Lindor hits a home run, fine, whatever. But the Braves tie the game up. And in extra innings, the Mets hit a fly ball to right field. Right fielder goes over to catch the ball, overruns the ball, goes over his head, lose the game. Stuff happens. I certainly don't want to spend minus 250 and have that happen, right? What I'm saying is you don't lose those bets. It has to be really good value and really secured understanding of what you're betting. But you're going to have to learn that it's okay to make those bets, or when you're betting baseball, you're not going to get there. You're going to have to wait till the playoffs come. And even in the playoffs, you're going to have minus 150, 160, 170 because you're going to have dominant aces on one side and kind of teams that just get there on the other, right? Like, I mean, if you had Cleveland, that let's just say Cleveland wins their division and they go in and, it's the second game and Carrasco is on the mound, what's that line going to look like when they play, a team that's going to throw a good pitcher out there? It's going to be minus 200. So you got to figure out how you're going to bet that stuff and where that's going to go. So anyway, point being is, it's important to really figure out what your line is going to be and where that value spot comes in, because that's what you're going to end up having to play. And it's going to get worse from this point forward. Every day you're going to start seeing less and less minus 130s, minus 140s, minus 115s, and way, way more on the other side. The other thing I will tell you is as it gets going down the line, a game where you have a team like the White Sox playing the Oakland A's, don't bet it. Don't bet that game. As you're getting into September and August, who cares? They don't, so you don't, right? Anything can happen. I hear all this all the time. Well, I get all this stuff, and I can get this value from this, and I can make these plays, and I win a lot of money based on that. No, you don't. That's not how that works. Those teams don't care. Don't bet on those games that they don't care. There has to be a reason for people to be engaged, to have a competitive spirit, to really compete, to win a game. And you got 2 of the worst teams in baseball, or a handful of the worst teams in games. Like for example, if the Toronto Blue Jays go trade all their guys and they're all depressed and motivated, don't bet on them or bet against them. One of the two. Figure out how to do it. But that's kind of how, when you start to go down, I don't really have a list of teams that I don't ever bet on. Just food for thought. For example, I bet on the Colorado Rockies today. Gave it out to my guys as a team total play. I'm an advocate of first 5 team totals, so I can bet the team total, the Colorado Rockies, over 1.5 minus 105. Minus 105, and they're facing a team, and that they're placing the Giants. The pitcher they're facing, they just faced him before, and he had a great game. So what happens? We talked about this. It's a back-to-back start. It's a reversal of fortune. This guy's not going to pitch that good, Harrison, and I think that they go out and they can score 2 runs in the first 5 innings, right? So look at that stuff. Look at first fives. Anyway, there's this little sneak peek of something that I gave out to my guys. All right, so next game that I wanted to talk to you about is the Dodgers. The Dodgers play tonight, and they play the Astros. And this is kind of one of those. I want to call it a rivalry game, but it kind of isn't. They don't play enough to really be a rival, but they play in the playoffs, and they've got bad blood for each other and stuff like that. But I've not been a real Framber Valdez fan this season. What I used to like about Framber most of the time when I bet him every time was he's hard to hit, and he gives up ground balls. He's a ground ball pitcher, but he's struggled this season. I don't want to tell you that he's not an ace. He's not, and he's very hittable. He's not got big strikeouts. His let me flip my screen. Wrong thing. Boop, there we go. And go over here. Flip it over to situational and go to Valdez. Valdez is a 112 in his last 28 days. So he's 12% worse than an average pitcher. At home, he's a 100, so he's just average. He's an average pitcher. That's what he is. And he's going to face the Dodgers. What I liked is that Framber Valdez is left-handed. All right, so the Dodgers are the number 1 hitting team against left-handed pitchers. They are 22% better than an average team. They've played 37 left-handed pitchers for some reason. Nobody else seems to play that many. They're 26 wins, 11 losses against left-handed pitchers. The other thing that's kind of cool here is, Valdez has pitched 17 times. The Astros are 10-7 in his starts. Well, that's 500-ish, a little better. So that's okay. But Gavin Stone is on the mound for the Dodgers. And if it hasn't been for this kid or Paxton, of course they got rid of Paxton. The Red Sox picked him up today, by the way. Thank you, Jay Barry, for sending that out to me. Gavin Stone, he's made 18 starts for the Dodgers. 18. They're 13-5 when he pitches. He doesn't lose games. So when you find spots where you got a pitcher that doesn't lose games, you got to find ways and reasons to bet on them, not bet against them. So I'm looking at Gavin Stone, and he's 13-5 in his 18 starts. His SOPS plus for the season's an 89, so he's 11% better than an average pitcher. We already said the Dodgers are the number 1 team in offense versus left-handed pitchers, and they're 26-11. Currently, the Dodgers are number 2 in offense, number 2 in isolated power. They're 35% better than a regular offense. And again, you go to what is the Astros doing? They're average. They're average at everything. They're minus 3% versus their average offense right now. They're 17th in offensive WAR. They're 11th in isolated power, so they got a little bit of power going on. They got 2 guys, Alvarez and Pena, that are hitting. You can get around those 2 guys, and Alvarez or Pena's right-handed, so they might be able to deal with him on a better basis. But the Dodgers have Lux, Hernandez, Ohtani, Freeman, all carrying the load. They only got 2 guys that aren't, and when you look at Houston, they got 4 guys not carrying the load. So I like the idea that we got a big offensive edge, even though I think the pitchers are kind of even. I say they're kind of even, but in terms of winning games, you got a big edge for Stone. So then you got to look at the line and see what the value is. So when I looked at the number and my number on this game, Houston, I actually have the Dodgers minus 112. And then the number is minus 120 for the Astros. So I can get the Dodgers at plus 110 when I think they should be small favorites. Let's go. Right? So there you go. I think that's a play. I think you go and say, let me give me the Dodgers, give me Ohtani, give me Hernandez, give me Gavin Lux, who's kind of rebounding back to what he is right now. They're right-handed guys, hit the left-handed pitchers. I'm all good. Ohtani's doing what Ohtani does, and all of a sudden, there we go. I think we got a winner there. Now this is one of those spots where it's possible. It's possible you might want to go and say, I think that I don't want to go with the Dodger bullpen, and you only want to do this in the first 5 innings. Now, again, the thought crosses your mind that that's the case, right? Because if I go back and I look at where my Dodger bullpen is, come on, there you go. Bullpen. Dodger bullpen. They've pitched 46 innings in the last 14 days and given up 51 hits. That's not good. If you give up more hits than innings pitched, it's not good. So you might want to say, well, I want to get away from that. Well, remember what the first rule is. If your offense is better than the other one, you want them to bat 9 times. And I'm assured they're going to bat 9 times. So give me the Dodgers in a full game, not first 5. I'll take my chances with what they do in the backside and hope that they cover it. And I'll take the Dodgers. And they're an underdog, so I'm going to take them. I think they win this game. And then the last game that I wanted to give out for the show today, and there's kind of a theme here. I told you to bet on let me flip this over here. We talked about betting on Minnesota. Minnesota's offense was better than Detroit's. We talked about betting on Baltimore's offense being better than San Diego's, and you got a big pitching matchup there, the edge. We said bet on Kansas City because they got a big offense disparity. We just talked about betting on the Dodgers, who have a big offensive disparity. Here's the last one. If you're not betting the Oakland A's, guys, you got to bet the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's in the last 7 days are scoring 6.4 runs a game. They are 63% better than an average offense. They are number 1 in offensive WAR. They are number 1 in isolated power. They got 5 guys over 2 WAR, and they got 6 guys over 1 WAR. They only have 2 guys that are kind of dragging them down. They're playing, again, the Los Angeles Angels tonight. The Angels have a relief pitcher pitching. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad pitcher. That's not what I'm suggesting. But the difference is the Oakland A's actually have a good pitcher pitching on the starting lineup tonight. Now, he's coming back off the disabled list, so I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get. But his name's Paul Blackburn. Blackburn's been really good for the Oakland A's. He's made 8 starts this season before he got hurt. The Oakland A's in his starts, they're 6-2. That's pretty good. I'm going to take the Oakland A's. Last time I saw it, it was a pick 'em or minus. Where is it at? Here it is. Come on, guys. There we go. Oakland A's. Oakland A's. There they go. Minus 112 for the at Circa for the Angels. Minus 115 at Bookmaker for the Angels. You can get them at plus 102, plus 105. Guys, you just keep betting Oakland A's and just bet them to win games. They won last night. If you don't, you can always bet them first 5 or whatever. But again, you don't want to bet them first 5 when you got the better offense. You want to just let them go do their thing, right? They got a guy right now. Forget which one it is. It's Butler. Butler's a 10.3 offensive WAR in the last 7 days. Nobody in baseball is higher. Nobody. And you've heard about Bobby Witt, and Bobby Witt's doing all these amazing things. Butler, 10.3, Bobby Witt, 9.7. I get it. They're pretty close. But nobody's talking about Butler, right? Because he's an Oakland A, right? Juan Soto, everybody's talking about Juan Soto, 8.8. So when you start to think about where some of these guys are and what's going on, that's what's happening in Oakland. Those guys are hitting. And you can only ride teams like this for so long because then they don't hit again, right? It's a short segment of time. It might be 3 days. It might be 2. It might be 4. But I'm telling you, and especially against a team like the Angels, you bet the Oakland A's against that team, like every single day. Now, you bet them until they cost you money. And when they start costing you money, you bet on somebody else. But the idea is that when you have the number one offense that's going that hot, you ride them. And I get it. Like yesterday, they scored 2 runs in the first inning. I'm sitting there going, yeah, we're going to do pretty good. And then they gave up 5. I'm like, oh, my God. They gave up 5 runs. That didn't matter to them. They went out and scored 2, made it 5-4 right away. Then they scored 2 more, made it 6-5, and then they won the game. And then they had guys on base almost every other inning after that where they could have scored more runs. They just didn't get them in. So as long as they're hitting and as long as they're doing what they're doing, you ride them out. So I think that's kind of what you do with the Oakland A's. So anyway, those are the plays today, guys. We got Minnesota on the run line. We got Baltimore Orioles in the first 5 innings on the run line. We got the Dodgers. We got the Oakland A's, and we even snuck in a couple other ones. We snuck in the Kansas City Royals on the run line, and I told you that I gave out a play to my guys today. It was team total over 1.5 for the Colorado Rockies. All right, so guys, look, we're doing great. The show's got 200 guys, 200 people watching the show live. It's been awesome. We're growing. Everything's going great. Follow me on Twitter. And that would be awesome. Webby20 MLB there. Go to my website, mlb-daily.com. If you want to be a client, that's fine too. It costs you $100. But you get all the stuff. You get all the data that I'm talking about. You get my plays. You get my odds. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't have a source where you're getting true value numbers, you're going to need one. And you're going to need one for football, and you're going to need one for baseball. You might as well just look. I don't know how to say this the right way without coming across like a bad person, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. You need to invest in your investment. Okay, if you're betting and you're trying to do this and make some money, you're going to need to invest in information. It's just the way it is. I do. I pay for certain things, let alone what I'm doing on the website and paying for all kinds of other stuff. But the point being is that you don't have everything up here and you can't have everything here in a computer. So you're going to need to get information. So you got to pay for it. And I charge $100 for a whole year. And your value to that $100 is going to come into play almost every single day. And the reality is that if you followed every one of my picks, if you did it that way, like I'm selling picks, and you'd already be up, I don't know, I'm ahead 15 units. So what is that? $1,500 on a $100 player. You'd already have covered that money and be way well off. But the point being is where I talked about how the numbers are getting ready to move. Well, if you don't have nothing to compare it to, and you can't make your own handicapping decisions because you don't know what a good bet looks like, that's the main thing of all of this is you got to know what a good bet looks like, right? I was thinking about what we talked about the other day when I asked the question of having a course on how to do this. And would somebody actually do it, would want it? And I got some feedback. And then I got, would somebody pay for it? Well, the number one question is, well, what's the purpose or goal of that? Well, the goal is to teach somebody what a good bet is and what is an EV positive good bet. Well, you won't ever know what a good EV positive good bet is if you don't have a reference to go against it. And there's 2 ways to do it, either top down or bottom up. You're either going to shop numbers and compare it to the numbers there and get a calculator that shows you the value and the difference and go buy it at that book versus a different book, right? Or you create your own numbers that you trust, or use numbers from somebody else that you really trust, and then you can create and get better EV as far as I'm concerned, and you can find a way to do it, right? But the first thing is to teach top-down betting. Second thing is to teach bottom-up betting, and then all the variants in between. Again, I'll throw this out there, guys. Look, if people are interested in doing that, here's my thought. I'll do it. I'll put a program together. I'll do it, but I don't want to do it for one guy. I don't want to do it for two guys. My thought is I don't need to make money doing it. It's not something I need to do to make a whole bunch of money. I want to test it, right? So if I had 10 to 20 people, we put them in a group, a class, and we ran it. And trust me when I tell you, this is not something I want to do. But and I charged, say I charged $40. Well, the $40 is just time, money, effort, putting all this stuff together. We got to Zoom calls. We do all these different things. I got to make slides. I got to do presentations. It just helps. 10 to 20 people. If say the first 10 to 20 people that want to do it, they DM me, right? So follow me on Twitter, or use my email. You can do that too if you want to do it that way. My email that you can get me at that's is webby20mlb@gmail. Simple. Send me an email, or DM me, however you want to do it. Or if you're on Facebook, or if you're on Instagram, I got all that stuff. Just contact me. Go to my website. There's a contact page on my website if you want to do it that way. But the point of it is, I need to see if there's interest to that level. If there's 10 people, we'll set a date. I'll organize it. I'll get the material together. I'll create some slides. We'll get some presentations. When we'll do it. We'll run it, and then we'll see how it goes, and what people liked or what they didn't like, and refine it and grow it, and then maybe make it a bigger deal and say, okay, it's $79.99. Let's get 100 people in, or whatever, and try to make money off of it. But the point is, I think that it's necessary. Look, some people know a lot of stuff. Some people don't know anything. But the whole goal is to guide you and get you to a point where you can maneuver and you can do it on your own, and you can learn to grow, and you can do all these different things, and you can make it happen, right? Like the question that the guy on Twitter, China, said was, hey, you're brand new to the business. You're brand new to sports betting, but you really want to make money at it. So how do you do it? Because you don't know how to handicap. You don't know what a line means and what line movements are. So what do? Do you pay a tout, a guy selling picks? Do you pay a guy selling picks, and he just gives you picks and you hope that you're going to win? Or do you give your money to a firm and have that firm try to do the same thing? So how do you do it? How do you grow? My thought is maybe there's a niche market where you sit there and go, what if you teach people what to do? What if you teach them how to get it done, right? So we can do that, and I'd like to try it. So if there's 10 of you that want to do it, or 15, let me know, and I would be glad to try to make that happen. So anyway, let's hope we win tonight, right? We got to do that. We got to keep things going, keep the lights on, keep things going. Got to pay the bills, do all those fun things. And then we go from there. Like, guys, we got over 200 people on this line right now. So as we're growing, it helps. Listen, it helps. I don't know how else other than to say it. If you want to help the channel, you want to help me, you can either help me financially by being a client. You can help me by subscribing to whatever those links are that you got to subscribe to. Hit the bells, the notification bells, retweet the show tweets. Be a part when you see stuff go on, and mention different things and grow, so that so that the stuff gets out. So when you guys retweet stuff, it's not people I follow or that follow me. That other people see it. So that's the goal, right? We want to get it out to as many people as we can. And then we can get a sponsor in here. We can get a lot of stuff happening, and we can go from there. So, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I will be here Saturday. We'll do a show Saturday at 12:15. And then I'm not going to do a show this Sunday. Normally I do a show on Sunday. But I got to go see my mom. So that's not going to happen on Sunday. And then I'm thinking about doing a show Monday. I haven't looked at the calendar yet to look at the games, but make up a game on maybe I'll do it Monday night show instead of missing on Sunday. So you can catch me again tomorrow. We'll come back and recollect and see how we did tonight. So let's make some money. Let's win some bets. Good luck, Jay Barry. And Mr. Jenkins. Jay says that would be awesome. So there you go, guys. If you guys are interested in stuff, just let me know. More in terms of commitment oriented. Say, yeah, I would be one of the first ones that would want to do it. And we'll get 10 people together. Once we get the 10 people together, we'll start putting some stuff together and dates and times, and we'll work through it. And then we'll go from there. So guys, thanks. I appreciate it, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Barry. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great night, and we will go from there, and I will see you tomorrow.